Hi folks, and welcome back to Dungeons and Dry Brushing. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. First, this is the first time that we're going to be using a 3D printed model on the channel. We're going to be painting a goblin today from Bite the Bullet. It's not a sponsored video, I just happen to like the model. And secondly, thanks to this new camera lens, I'm going to be able to be a bit more comfortable in trying to show you the way I normally paint when I'm not making a video. This involves a lot more layering and volumetric highlighting, as opposed to, say, a lot of contrast paints or a lot of dry brushing. But we're going to give it a shot. Hopefully, normally what happens is that the camera gets in the way of trying to paint like this. It's just an unfortunate reality of recording videos. But I'm going to give it a shot and see if we can make it work. Let's get started. The first step after priming the model white is to apply Creed Camo contrast paint to the skin. We're going to be painting over 90% of this, so if you don't have contrast or speed paint, any dark green acrylic will do. The benefit of using a contrast here is just getting a little basic highlight mapping while you put on your base coat. The first step in the layering process is going to be Brilliant Green from Reaper. This is a bright, vibrant green that is going to bring us up to a nice saturated look. I cover about 90% of the goblin skin with this, leaving Creed Camo in only the very darkest shadows. Once I've covered the majority of goblin skin in Brilliant Green, the next step is a 50-50 mix of Brilliant Green and Moth Green. Moth Green is a very bright, highly saturated green that leans towards yellow. This time I cover about 70% of the skin, focusing on upward-facing areas and ignoring anything that's in deep shadow. As I add colors using the same technique, that's going to help define the volumes on the model. And after that, you're basically applying the same principle, doing another layer that covers a smaller upward-facing section, then adding more moth green and doing it again until you're at pure moth green, or whatever it is you want your brightest highlight to be on your model. When you do get to that final highlight, you basically just want the absolute brightest spots to get paint. Tiny specular highlights on the nose, the cheekbones, the chin, the lips. And in the case of these green little psychos, maybe the tips of the ears too. If at any point during this the layers start to look too obvious or too blatant, I recommend just taking a bit of your paint and thinning it down to a glaze. Use that to go over the top of the layers and smooth out the transitions. Once the skin is done, it's time to start nearly the exact same process but on the robes. I start with Imperial Fist contrast paint, which is an insanely pigment dense and really good yellow, though there isn't a lot of contrast in it for a contrast paint. Once the entire robe is coated, I work up to Reaper's Lemon Yellow, again covering everything except the deepest shadows and folds. The mix of colors gets progressively lighter until it's pure Glacier Yellow from AK. The same basic steps apply on the cape as well, from Luxion Purple to Royal Purple, up to a more magenta highlight on the brightest areas of the cape. And once again I use a very thin magenta glaze afterwards to help smooth the transition between layers. It's fundamentally the same process, moving from darker colors to lighter, a small piece at a time, and then smoothing it out. If you're thinking that this is a really bright, vibrant kind of paint scheme for this goblin, by the way, you're totally right. While I might like my orcs to be brutal and dark looking, I like my goblins to be gleeful and malevolent. A kind of colorful, over-the-top, in-your-face evil. It just seems appropriate to me for goblins. With the majority of the fabric done, all that's left is cleaning up some details. The eyes, the teeth, the weapons. The fur on the back of the cloak does get a simple wash and highlight, but the colors for everything else just get mixed from what I already have out and ready. A single coat and a highlight or wash is enough on areas of the model that you're not really trying to draw attention to. And the only thing left that gets any real detail put in is the fireball in her hand. That gets some simple wet blending. The base is done with Zealot Yellow speed paint, and it's mixed into Blood Angel's red contrast at the tip of the fireball. I'm painting an entire group of goblins in this style, and I haven't actually decided on what to do with their bases just yet, so if you've got ideas, hit me up in the comments. But for now, that means our project is done. Alright guys, that's about it. I had a lot of fun layering up these goblins, and I think I got a little closer to my natural paint style. Let me know if the camera work and everything was alright, or if that's still something I'm going to need to work on in the future. I think it's important to remember that there's no wrong way to paint. We get carried away a lot in this hobby. You have to come at it from the idea of, what's my goal? If your goal is to become a display painter, yeah, you're going to want to be pushing yourself and trying different techniques all the time. But if you're just trying to have some fun with it, which I think is what the majority of hobbyists want, I think we want to have fun, we want to get some cool models on the table, and we want to slowly improve so that when we look at our models year after year, they're constantly looking better. And you can absolutely accomplish that while trying different techniques and not taking it too seriously. I had fun layering these guys up. But if you've seen the Cursed City videos that I make, it would be a nightmare to do this layering technique on those models. For me at least, that's not how I have fun with those. I think they look great in the grimdark slapchop style. So at the end of the day, what's important is just remembering to have fun with it. This is your hobby time, it's not a job. So pursue what makes you happy with it, find a little joy in your painting, and if you're not having fun with it, maybe you need to do a reset. Try a model you wouldn't normally try a paint scheme you wouldn't try, or a technique. Anyway, let me know what you think. I'll see you on the next video.